All right, welcome everyone to episode 14 of the Full Count with your hosts Grant and Jose. Let's get started by talking about Jay Cutler finally being gone from the Bears. Glorious hallelujah.
Well, I mean, he had, I'd say, maybe a decent run for being with the Bears. But I have heard, who knows, at least from rumors I've heard, Glennon, I think maybe could be a better quarterback than what he is right now. Who knows? I hope it works out for the Bears. I just know from what his history has shown, at least with Cutler, it did about, except for that one Super Bowl that they made it to, even though they lost to the Colts. They have never been back to the Super Bowl since.
Now, I thought Grossman was leading. Was
Yeah,
leading.
that sounds right. But still, even with Cutler, it's been not too good
I
anyway for the
mean,
Bears.
where does Cutler go from here? Does he retire? Does he try to go to another team?
I mean, he might, but it depends on where they're going to. It depends on if the team wants him there or not. And yeah, you're right. It was Grossman with the Bears that season. That was my mistake. But I'm glad I checked up on that. You're all right. Overall, with me, I was never too impressed with Jay Cutler. I'm sorry. I just never have been impressed with him. Because I know the Bears have been desperately wanting a Super Bowl again, want to win a Super Bowl again. I get that. Isn't there. And at least from what I've seen, I think it's going to be a hard time. It's going to be a hard time and even a long time before I think the Bears can even make it to the Super Bowl again, especially since you've got the Packers and Vikings. And the Packers overall has usually run that division for the most part, except for this season anyway, this past season. But overall, the Packers have usually done very well within the NFC North. And I know, like the Packers-Bears game, that gets to be a rough game. Actually, all those games turn out to be rough. When you've got Detroit, you've got Minnesota, you've got Chicago, and Green Bay. When you've got those four teams in one division, oh boy. But I hope there might be teams that might be looking at Cutler. They may try to give him a chance, but it's just going to depend on how Cutler does. Because at least what has shown with the Bears, he didn't cut it for the Bears. And if I was a team, I would probably look for younger quarterbacks. But that's just me.
I mean, do you think Glenn can actually make it at least until they find a more permanent solution?
I think that's gonna be hard to tell. Who knows? He could prove himself. He could prove people wrong. There have been times that it's happened. That's why right now I think we've got to be open with him for now, at least. At least give him maybe at least 1 or 2 seasons, maybe just at least this season. If like that within the first 6 games, then yeah, maybe you need to find a more permanent solution, and then draft someone younger. If he pans out, maybe he should be the starter next, or maybe they could bring him on and make him into a career player for them. Who knows? Because I would say you want to make a permanent solution just yet. At least give him a chance to see how it pans out. And I'd say at least the first 6-8 games, I think, will be enough to either point the direction whether he's going to be good enough for him to start, or they go, sorry, but we're going to have to go with someone different. And though he's already got a contract already for quite a bit amount of money, so he's with them whether you like it or not.
I mean, how much did they sign? What, $43 million for 3 seasons?
That sounds about right. I'm gonna look that up anyway. That sounds about right anyway. And I think he could do decent for them. And it's just gonna take time, whether he's going to do well or if he doesn't. I know the Bears, they're desperately needing a quarterback from someone. And if it doesn't work out with him, I think they're going to be in a. I think they're going to be in a lot of hurt if they don't find a decent quarterback.
Oh yeah, I mean the draft presents a lot of opportunities too, but at least go with Glennon until you can find one that you can fully develop. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Because I hope it works out for the Bears. But then again, it's possible it may not work out for them. Because I'm just saying, look what has happened with Cutler. I don't know. Maybe it's the management. Maybe the management is just really done pretty crappy on getting decent players to play for them. Line really has hurt them the most. And I would go back to Jimmy Garoppolo. If I was Jimmy Garoppolo, I wouldn't leave anything. I would stay with the Patriots. I would stay with them. You've got all that protection on. You've got a Super Bowl ring, and you're getting paid decent money. Why would you want to go to a different team? And I mean, I think at some point he's going to get a shot of being a starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. He's already played 3 games already with them, and it's shown that he's done decently already. And that's why I think a lot of the other teams should look at it like that, because that's sort of what the Patriots did a long time ago with Brady. Brady wasn't even a starting quarterback, but they decided to replace Drew Bledsoe with Tom Brady, and that worked out well. That was the next quarterback they have in mind that Brady, and Brady could be not Brady, Garoppolo could be the next in line of doing for seasons upon season end, to where they could probably win more Super Bowls. I mean, it's possible that could happen.
Yeah, he's getting paid a lot of money to just sit the bench.
And I think they're doing that so he can study the game and study how Brady plays, because I think they want Garoppolo to be a quarterback for them. And I think they want him to understand how their team works, because if you can get a guy like that, players like that, they don't have to keep on spending such a gobs amount of money on people, especially a quarterback, because the quarterback technically usually is the most valuable player of the team. Usually. Not saying that's always true, but in most teams, the quarterback usually tends to be the highest paid player on that team. And especially the quarterback, since they are the captain and the leader, quarterbacks tend to get paid more often because they are the stars of the team. I'm not saying that's always true, but they are the captains of the team usually, and they are the ones throwing the ball.
And they're the ones that'll get you the points. I mean, outside of the running back and the wide receivers. And occasionally defense too.
And the quarterback is calling the plays of a certain play. So without the quarterback, how can he even have the ball thrown or even get it tossed to one of your running backs or wide receivers anyway?
Precisely.
And that's why.
Continue if you're gonna.
What I was gonna say is, and that's why I think with Mike Glennon, I hope it works out for him. And yeah, it's a 3-year, $43.5 million deal. So, I mean,
you think
it could pan out within those 3 years? It's possible he could go downhill really quick. Thing is, that's why if I were the Bears, I'd rather just keep it open right now and see how he pans out. Because maybe, just maybe, by some instance, they're able to get players that have a good, decent offensive line. They can make the playoffs, and who knows? They can maybe go for a run. And it's possible they could have some guys that can stay with the team for longer periods of time. But if this doesn't pan out, the Bears are going to have a hard time after these next 3 years, if none of these 3 years pan out for them. It's going to be really hard for them to come back in a very, very long time.
I mean, do you think they maybe paid too much for him? Do you think maybe they could have gotten him for maybe $24 million?
depends on what the agent wants also. I think it was too expensive, but remember the agents are part of it too. So the agent may have told him that I want you to get this much amount of money for you to sign with this team. I agree. I think it's too much money anyway, in my point of view. But if that's the way the business went, if that's the way the contract signing went, there's not really a lot you can do about it. Because whatever the Bears want to sign him for, that's how much they want to sign him for. Even though I think it's a bad move on their part, but that's on them. That's on no one else but them.
No, I understand that. It's just looking from a standpoint that he hasn't started a game in 3 years, but yet he's going to get paid all this money.
Oh, I completely agree with you on that. I completely agree with you on that. I don't think he should have gotten paid that much. I think what you said, you should have gotten paid. I think he should have gotten paid. I think he should get paid less than $20 million, actually. Because his numbers really don't show much either. That's why I don't think he really should have gotten paid $20 million. But like I said, the Bears chose to pay him that much. Hopefully he pans out, but if he doesn't, shame on them.
Yeah, because I don't see Romo Garoppolo wanted to have any interest in Chicago.
Well, Romo, I think, is a guy that I think he's coming close to being about the end of his career. I mean, I could be wrong. He could have 1 or 2 good seasons out of him still. But I know Garoppolo's very young still. And with him being with the Patriots, he's got a good team around him. And I think that's a team that he should stay with. I think if things got too stressful, then maybe it's time to leave. But if things are still going good for him with the Patriots, I'd say stay with the Patriots. Because you've got 1 Super Bowl ring already. You've got pretty good players that got you surrounded that they're going to protect you. He's already shown in his first 3 games that he's done well. And that's like with Glennon, on the other hand, Mike Glennon. I think that is a very tough situation for the Bears. How everyone thinks he's going to pan out. It's even a tough situation for the fans. How is he going to pan out? No one really knows until he plays. So it's possible he could. It's possible he might not. And if he doesn't, that's not going to be good for the Bears. And the Bears fans are going to be very unhappy and very unpleased. And the reason I know that is because I've had a relative that played for the Bears. It was a long time ago. But I remember hearing stories about the old-time Bears winning title after title after title. That's the type of Bears most of the older folks who are like their grandparents that remember. And that's why I know why I sympathize with Bear fans, why they're upset of why the Bears haven't been able to win a Super Bowl, except for the 1 Super Bowl back in the 1980s. I understand why they're getting very unhappy and upset with why the Bears aren't making the Super Bowl. But times have changed a lot, and the rules and then you've got expansion teams that have come in. Lots of things have changed, so that's why it makes it tougher for some teams that have won titles to even get to the Super Bowl now.
And to kind of wrap up the NFL talk, switch over here for a second. Adrian Peterson's no longer a Viking.
Really?
Yep. I guess either they let him go or he got out of his contract somehow.
That's very interesting, but I know Adrian Peterson, he is getting up with age anyway, so they may younger, or the thing is he may be getting too expensive for them, so they decide that they're going to go with someone younger. Because I'm sure Adrian Peterson, someone's going to pick him up. I'm sure of that. It doesn't say that he's retired yet.
Kind of move on to our second part of the night. Some WWE talk. We're still on the road to WrestleMania, and oh boy, I mean, this week, for Raw or SmackDown, I mean, you had AJ Styles get fired on TV, which we all know. If you're smart enough to know, he's not actually fired. He's a storyline fired.
Yeah, I get that too. I know. It's a good storyline.
I mean, no doubt it's a good storyline. I mean, you get AJ Styles, who's been kind of slighted by Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan and the Man, as we like to call it. I mean, first he has a title match, then he doesn't have a title match because Randy Orton won the title match back. It's like, okay, just make a triple threat, or give uh, give AJ his one-on-one with the winner of the match at WrestleMania. That would make some sense.
Well, it depends on what the overall perspective of what fans want. And I remember AJ Styles back when he was in what's now called Impact Wrestling. It's not called TNA anymore. That's another thing. But we're talking about WWE, it's now Impact Wrestling, not Total Nonstop Action Wrestling anymore. It's Impact. But when AJ Styles was with that company, he was a high flyer. That's what he actually did most of the time with that company, was the high flying matches. And I think it's good that he's in a singles match with Shane McMahon, because both of those two guys are high flyers and they've used weapons in that. That's the type of match that I think Styles would love to be in, and he should at least have a match at WrestleMania. Maybe it's not a time match this year, but do I see him in the long run later on potentially having a WrestleMania title match? I think so. AJ Styles is a big name, and I'm glad he's got a spot in WrestleMania this year. He's got his own match, even though it may not be a title match. But do I think that he's going to have a title match at some point? I think so. He's a big moneymaker in any organization, and he's been making pretty decent money for the WWE already. So I wouldn't count AJ Styles out yet for a title match. It's just I think the way things were written in that, and the way fans wanted it this year, that's why I think AJ Styles just wasn't part of the title match this year. Even though I like AJ Styles as a wrestler, I like his style. He's a good wrestler. It's just I don't think it was, at least this year, for him for a title match. I don't think it was in the cards. But does he deserve a spot in WrestleMania? Heck, yes, he does. He's shown all the time how good of a wrestler he is.
And I've heard some people complain, don't put AJ against Shane. He deserves better than that. I'm like, who really, can they give AJ to him, and they don't really have enough time to build a story and sell it to us.
And really, I think that would actually be a better story for Shane McMahon and AJ Styles to be together, because, like I said, both these guys have been in these extreme matches like tables, ladders, chairs. They've been used to those type of matches before. I don't understand why fans go, AJ Styles should be going against Shane McMahon. I think that would be a really good match to watch. I think that would be a really good match to watch. Heck, look what happened with Shane against Undertaker, with it being a Hell in a Cell match. Even though we all knew Shane would lose, but still, it was really cool to see Shane going back into what everyone knew as the Attitude Era, where he went all out. And that's the reason why I think it's good that you've got Shane McMahon and AJ Styles together in a match.
I think I've heard rumors that it might be a Falls Count Anywhere match, but don't quote me on that. But if it did turn out to be a Falls Count Anywhere match, do you think that could sell?
Yeah, I think even tables, ladders, chairs could sell for them also.
I mean, I think if it's a TLC match, you gotta have like a brief. I think if it's a TLC match, I don't know how you'd write this. I mean, you have like a contract. You have maybe like AJ's contract up there. Or do you have a contract for a title match, or do you just have like a TLC match where it's like you have a TLC match, but you can win by pinfall?
I think if it was me, if I was writing, I think the TLC match, you should have a contract for him to have a title match at possibly next year's WrestleMania for the WWE title. But that's just my opinion.
Speaking of WrestleMania, I mean, I guess there's rumors going around that next year's WrestleMania, the main event's already been decided, and it's going to be Brock versus Roman Part 2. I'm like, why? I mean, I know Brock's big and all, but this time it's supposed to be for the Universal title, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling it.
I know. Actually, I think it's a really good idea. To be honest, I think Roman Reigns just showed with his match against Braun Strowman I thought he had a really good match on Raw with Braun Strowman. I know fans don't really like Roman Reigns right now at the meantime. But look what happened to The Rock. People were always booing The Rock for such a long amount of time, and then they were able to switch his character up, and now they completely love The Rock. It took The Rock a long time.
People were booing The Rock at the early part of his career, like when he first got in. And then, they went with the Nation, then they went on his own, they went with the corporation,
yeah,
they went on his own again.
That's what Roman Reigns technically is doing now. Also, he was with the Shield when he first got in. Now he's going on his own.
I mean, Roman said on Raw that, he wants to retire the Undertaker, and that it's his yard. I mean, can you get any more, what's the word I'm looking for? Can you deliver a punch bigger than that to the Undertaker? I mean, that's going to be your yard now.
Hey, it's the way it's written. I mean, we all know at some point, the Undertaker at some point is going to want to retire, because we know Mark Calloway, the real guy playing the Undertaker, Mark Calloway. I'm sure in real life, I'm sure he wants to be with his family. So at some point, we all know he's going to want to retire at some point. So you're going to have to make someone the next big dog and take over the reins as being the next big dog. So it could possibly be Roman Reigns. And I mean, if Undertaker does lose to Roman Reigns, I mean, yeah, it'll be upsetting. But the thing is, I know Vince McMahon wants to make big stars out of these younger guys now. Starting to get a good mix of the people that have wrestled for a long time, and then these younger ones that you've got. And that's what I think he's trying to do. And I think that's why I think at some point he's getting upset a little bit here and there, is that he's trying to find a good mix to where it's going to help out the younger guys, to where it can help out his business, and then the guys that have been there for a long time, they can start retiring, but they don't have to worry about being WrestleMania anymore. And that's because I know Undertaker, he's beaten a lot of big names. That's very true. He's beaten a lot of big names. But at some point, you're going to have to make these younger stars become the next big stars.
I mean, if you go with that, do you have Roman go heel and have him go over?
I would say if I was Vince, I would have, in this instance, I would have Roman go babyface. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Okay. I mean, as far as we're done with that, so we can move on to the meat and potatoes of tonight, and that would be the NCAA Tournament.
Boy, is my bracket been, well, I wouldn't say totally busted, but wow, it's not doing quite so hot right now anyway.
I think mine is too, but I mean, is UCLA still in it? As long as, I mean, that's the one team you were wanting to go in.
Yeah, UCLA is still in it. That's the team I would like to win the whole thing, but I mean, if they don't, they don't. But so far, I think the tournament has turned out very, very well. Because here's some of the scores that have happened already. Well, right now, Florida's beating University of Virginia 33-17 in the second half. Villanova lost to Wisconsin in a very close game, 65-62. This was a good game. Gonzaga versus Northwestern. Gonzaga beat Northwestern 79-73. Michael, this is the one game that I think the refs got this play wrong. It was a bad call, but overall, I think it really would not have made a difference for Northwestern to win. But it was still a bad call. What happened is Gonzaga, one of the Gonzaga players, had their hand right in the net, and they grabbed the net and the rim at the same time, and then they hit the ball. So really, technically, that should have been 2 points for Northwestern.
Should that have been goaltending, or?
It was the interference play, so yeah, technically it was goaltending. So they should have had 75, but even been only having 75 still. Gonzaga still won the game out anyway.
Okay.
I would agree with the commentators. It was a bad call. Because at first I didn't think it was goaltending until they showed the replay, and I was going, yeah, it's definitely goaltending. But overall, I think even with that play, yeah, the 2 points should have been given to Northwestern, but overall, it wasn't going to really help Northwestern out anyway, because ultimately at the very end, Gonzaga still won the game, 79-73. Xavier decimated Florida
They
State.
destroyed Florida State.
91-66 was the final of that game.
I mean, did you expect that coming out of Xavier? I mean, I know they have a lot of tournament experience, but did you expect that?
A type of score like that and lead, maybe the lead, yes, but that type of score, no. I don't think Xavier would have scored 91 points. I know they've had some big leads, and Xavier's done fairly well in the tournament. But 91-66, no, I never expected anything like that. So that looked like to be a really, really great game. I think so far this year, I think a lot of the games have turned out to be really, really good so far this year. And then we've also got Arizona versus St. Mary's. That's only a 5-point difference within that game.
Well, right now it's actually 7. They're down. Let's see. Arizona's up 55-48, and you gotta give St. Mary's credit that they're keeping it close. I mean, even if they do lose.
True, and that's. I think this tournament has turned out to be a really good tournament so far this year. I haven't seen a tournament like this in a long time where both teams have really tried hard to keep it close.
Let's see. And another score, we had West Virginia take out Notre Dame 83-71, which Notre Dame, they started out well during the season, but then they just kind of
fizzled. Yeah, they just fizzled. It's nothing bad. It's just they start fizzled. That's the only thing that's bad about the NCAA tournament. Once you have one bad game, you're done for the rest of the season. You're done for your season, and it sucks. But overall, a lot of these games I've been very impressed with. And right now, it's Arizona versus St. Mary's. Arizona's only up by 3 now, with 5:31 left, 5:13 now left in the second half.
I think the only close first round upset that I saw was Kentucky almost losing to
Northern Kentucky.
Northern Kentucky.
Well, I didn't see the game. I was doing other things, but wow. That's still really good that Northern Kentucky kept it close anyway. But I think this tournament has turned out to be so far a really good tournament. And at least from the games that I've seen so far, I think most of the rest have done a fairly good job of calling it, except for this game, Northwestern against Gonzaga. I think that was a little bit bad of a call on the end when Gonzaga was defending. I think that was a little bad. But overall, I'm highly impressed. And a lot of these teams have been keeping it close and they're working their butts apart. And that's what does make it sad, is that I know fans of a certain team want their call to win. I completely get that, and I completely understand that. But it's in everything. There's winners and there's losers. I know a lot of our generation may not like hearing this. You've got to work your butt off hard for it. That's the only way you win, is by working your butt off hard. And people are going, probably say, but that's not fair. Some people try their hardest and they never win. Yeah, but the thing is, that's why some people have ringers, and those ringers tend to go farther and do better compared to other people. Because even those ringers, they can have their bad days too. But overall, more likely than not, they tend to have better days on average than a lot of the other people. And I know it's unfair to say that, and I know it's maybe hard to say that, but that's why even the ones that do lose, hopefully you learn from that mistake. You know what to do the next time it happens. So, like, let's say this is your last year, you're a senior, you lose in a big game. Well, if you would get particularly drafted in the NBA, maybe you know what to do when you get to the NBA. And though I know the NBA is somewhat different too, because once you're in the NBA, you're more there to sell tickets than really truly playing basketball. So it's a little different also on that. But at least when it comes to college basketball, this tournament, even though it has screwed up my bracket somewhat badly, I've been very impressed so far with this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you there. This tournament has been better than previous tournaments. I mean, looking at the first round, I mean, let's see, Mid Tennessee surprised me, even though they lost, even though they would eventually lose to Butler. I mean, I didn't think they'd advance. Let's see. Of course, the number one seeds dominated the first round, of course.
Yep.
But I mean, let's see. I mean, there were some close first round games. Even I mean, Princeton almost beat Notre Dame. Bucknell almost beat West Virginia.
Yeah, but overall, they're not. The mid majors tend to. I mean, they do advance, but it's been very hard for the mid majors to win an NCAA tournament title. Because at the very end, there only will be one title winner, and it's been very, very hard for a mid major, an underdog, for them to win the NCAA title.
I don't think we've seen that happen. And have we seen that happen? Like at
In
least
my lifetime, in our lifetimes, no. There have been teams from the Missouri Valley Conference that have won national titles, or at least have been to a national title game. But since I've been born, that has never happened.
I mean, I think the last feel good story we've seen has been, I think, if correct me if I'm wrong on this. I think it was George Mason.
Yeah, George Mason's made
When they
to the Final
went
Four.
to at least the Elite Eight, I believe, if I'm correct.
There have been some teams that have made it to Elite Eight and Final Four, and I think Butler made it to the title game when they were in. I think it was the Mid American Conference that season. Because Butler is now in the Big East. They were not, because at the time when they made it to the title game, Butler versus Duke, if you remember, right? They were not
Butler's
part
the
of.
first team in the Sweet 16. I mean, actually, wait. Butler doesn't have an opponent yet. They play the winner of UNC Arkansas. Yeah, right now the only confirmed game for the Sweet 16 is Gonzaga and West Virginia, which that should be a good game.
Butler will face Middle. Well, actually, whoever won between Butler and Middle Tennessee State will face, UNC and Arkansas.
Right now, let's see if these scores are updated. Let's see if these scores are updated. Oh, I don't even know updated scores, ESPN. Okay, right now, let's see. Arizona's up by 5, up 57-52.
And at the time, it was in 2010, Butler facing against Duke. They were in the Horizon League that year.
All right.
So they obviously have gotten better as a team and as a school anyway. And Butler has been tough. So, but like I said, overall this tournament so far, I've really liked watching the tournament this year so far, and I think it's turned out to be one impressive ride. It's just, yeah, I understand it sucks for like little kids watching your team, your favorite team. You want your team to win, or like your dad's coaching the team that you root for. Yeah, it's sad to see that your dad losing.
But it does happen, You're,
Yeah,
you're eventually going to run into the big major schools. I mean, I would have been shocked. I would have been surprised if Northwestern actually pulled it off against Gonzaga. Because Gonzaga, just from the way you and I have been talking over the last few weeks, did not deserve that number one seed. Even though they got it, I don't think they deserved it.
well, actually, I think from the way they just played now, I think that's exactly why they got the number one seed. Because I know I'll even admit I even said I didn't think they should get number one seed, but the way they played in this game against Northwestern, oh yeah, I can see why they put them as a number one seed. Because, and I'll even say, Gonzaga has been one of the big ultimate underdogs. Because most people think number one seeds should go to usually the major power conferences, which have been these six conferences: the Big Ten, SEC, Pac-12, ACC, Big East, and Big 12. Those are the six conferences they usually tend to have had uh, the what they usually call the best schools for college basketball as number one seeds. This year they gave it to Gonzaga, who's a mid-major, and so far Gonzaga has been proving people wrong. They've won in the first round already. They've now won the second round. So now they'll be facing West Virginia for the Sweet 16. And the way Gonzaga's playing, if they keep playing the way they're playing, it's possible you can see Gonzaga in the Final Four.
I mean, is it realistic to say that maybe we see the other three number one seeds in the Final Four, or do we see maybe like at least two?
I think it's possible we just may see two this year.
I mean, which two would you say if you had to map it out? I mean, I know we're at least like another week or so before the Final Four, but
I
I
think
mean, do you think Gonzaga makes it?
I'd say it's highly probable. I wouldn't say it's definite. I'd say it's probable because Arizona has been a tough team. Because if you also look at the RPI, that's why I'm trying to look at the rankings, how they favored at the end of this season anyway, in the RPI rankings. Because Gonzaga, if they keep playing the way they're playing, I think they've got a good shot of going to the Final Four. But Pac-12 has done a fairly good, decent job too anyway this season. Pac-12 teams, even though it's been a small amount, they have done fairly well this year, especially UCLA. So, do I think Gonzaga will beat Arizona? I think overall likely than not, I think Gonzaga probably will. They've shown that they have been able to play very, very well this year so far. Just like the way they played against Northwestern, it was a tough game all around for both teams, and Gonzaga just had a whole different level to them compared to Northwestern. They just kept on finding ways of how to score and block. Even though there was one bad call missed, and that should have gone to Northwestern. I definitely agree with that call. That should have gone to Northwestern. And I understand it's upsetting that they didn't get that call.
I mean, but do you think if it were maybe like, I don't know, a 2 or 3 point game, then that call would have made that difference?
I'm sorry, that really no. It's because look at what happened with the score. It never made a difference anyway. Because I'll go on the game. That call may have helped a little bit for Northwestern, but overall the score, Gonzaga still won. And then RPI, Arizona's number 2 ranked in RPI at the end of the right now, at least that's what's showing right now, is that they're ranked number 2 at .6550. And Gonzaga's a little bit lower than them. And Gonzaga's strength of schedule is only 102, but I'd say right now, don't count Gonzaga out. If I were a betting man, do not count out Gonzaga.
Oh wait.
Because they are proving people wrong.
The RPI, I mean,
Yeah.
Villanova, let's see, Arizona, or this is RPI, I think I'm looking at. Yeah, it's RPI I'm looking at. Oh, boy, I mean, I think I will agree that the way they played in that game, that they show that they're, I don't know if they show that they're for real, but they at least show that they
I think
deserve
they
that
are
number
showing
one
that they
seed.
are. I think they are showing that they are for real. They just beat Northwestern, and even Northwestern is playing somewhat dirty around them. And I know, from what I've seen, the power conferences tend to play dirtier against mid-major conference schools. And Gonzaga has had a very good history of being in the NCAA tournament for a long time. This is Northwestern's first time even being in the NCAA basketball tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Fans acted towards Gonzaga, I thought it was a little despicable. Think that they're better than Gonzaga when Gonzaga has been in the tournament for for quite a lot of years. So they've had more experience being in the NCAA basketball tournament than Northwestern has.
Yeah,
Northwestern, this is.
but give credit to
I'm sorry.
Northwestern where credit's due, man.
I'll give a little credit, but I'm sorry. Gonzaga has been in it a lot longer than Northwestern has. So I'm sorry. The fans, I thought, were a little rude to Gonzaga when Gonzaga's been there for a long time. And they're in a mid-major conference, and mid-major conferences tend to get crap
They tend
upon
to
them.
get disrespected sometimes, I will
Yeah.
say.
And Gonzaga, I think, just proved that Gonzaga is not a team to reckon with.
You know, don't sleep on. I think Gonzaga proved that you can't sleep on these major teams.
Right. Because I hope out of all the teams, I would like to see UCLA win, but if it's not UCLA, I would love to see Gonzaga win. That is, I've always said that Gonzaga has always been the ultimate underdog. Look down on them, and they've actually are proving how good they are. Their strength of schedule, like I said, I'll even say it. I even said it too about Gonzaga. Their strength of schedule, I think, is what made me think that they should be a number one seed. But they're also proving just the way they play against Northwestern, I think them as a number one seed. I understand that why. They've got that it factor, and that's what makes Gonzaga why a lot of people are starting to like Gonzaga. Or Gonzaga, some people pronounce Gonzaga. But that's why a lot of people are impressed with that team. Because, like I said, they've got their it factor. There's not really anything you could say that makes them where you may feel like that they're the best, but they're showing just how much tenacity they've got, how much they're willing to work hard to make sure that they get that win. They're willing to do whatever it takes to get that win. You know, should they really done that blocking with one of the players having their hand in the net doing that? No, that was not really too good. But I remember watching that game today. They did outstanding. Both teams did very well. But Gonzaga, that's the thing with being an NCAA basketball tournament. If you've been in it before, they tend to know what usually happens within a tournament, so they've got a better idea of what they need to do of how to win those games.
Oh yeah, it gives you a leg up. I mean, I will say that it gives you an advantage over
But if I
teams
would have
that
to say,
haven't been in it as much or teams that haven't been in it at all.
but if I would have to say of the number one seeds that I think will make it, I know I've got Arizona in my bracket. I would want Arizona to make it, but the way Gonzaga's playing, if they do play the way they're playing and they keep on improving, I think it would be Gonzaga and Kansas that would be the two number one seeds in the Final Four.
Let's see.
I don't think.
I think in one of mine I had, let's see, Nova out. I had Gonzaga losing to Arizona, but I mean that's possible. But see, I think in one of mine I had one number one seed, and that's Kansas.
I had two in here in my bracket. I had Nova going over to the national title game, but that turned out to be wrong.
Let's see. I mean, I think you might like
So
this.
now,
Let's see. I think another one, if you give me a second. Let's see. I had Gonzaga and UCLA make it to the title game.
I did have the Austin title game also.
Now, I mean, from your standpoint, if that actually happened, I mean, who would you root for?
Ooh, that would be a tough one. So I like UCLA because of John Wooden.
You
They
can't root
have
for
become,
both teams though, so it's
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have become a power team. So the team I probably would root for if it was those two teams, Gonzaga. They're the ultimate underdog. It's like Rocky Balboa. UCLA has won a lot of titles already.
because
Gonzaga's
I don't
never
think
won one
Gonzaga's
yet.
ever won
No, they never won a title yet. So if it was Gonzaga and UCLA, I'd root for Gonzaga. I'd root for the underdog. If it would end up to those two teams,
which is very possible. I mean, we got a lot. We got a
it's
lot
still
of
got a
games
long way
left
to
to
go.
go.
But if Gonzaga would make it, if Gonzaga makes it to the title game, I don't care who they're playing. I'm rooting for Gonzaga.
Fair enough. I mean, as far as tomorrow's games, we can run down those real quick. We got let's see, we've got Kansas and Michigan State, and number one against number nine. Let's see, we got URI. Let's see, URI. I don't know who that is. Real quick.
University of Rhode Island.
Okay, that's right. We got Rhode Island against Oregon, which I don't. That might be a blowout. We got, let's see, Michigan and Louisville, UNC and Arkansas, Cincinnati against UCLA, Wichita State and
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Let's see, South Carolina and Duke, USC, US. Yeah, I'm trying to give me a second here. I'm trying to look at my.
Yeah, good work.
Let's see. Yeah, USC and Duke. Wait, no, wait, not you. No, wait. I'll take that back. USC plays Baylor and South Carolina plays Duke. My brain's all over the place right now.
No, Carolina would be playing Arkansas.
That's right.
Duke would be playing South Carolina.
I mean, as far as tomorrow games go, do you see any upsets happen?
For tomorrow's games, what I've seen in the tournament so far and the bracket, I think Duke will beat South Carolina. I'd be very surprised if Duke lost to South Carolina. You've got Baylor and USC.
I'll be heavily surprised if Baylor loses.
I think it's possible USC can beat Baylor. They just beat SMU. I think it's possible. I won't say it's going to happen, but I'd say it's possible.
I mean, is it possible that Rhode Island beats Oregon?
That I'd be surprised about. I think Oregon will beat Rhode Island. I think Kentucky will beat Wichita State. Wichita State's got a very good record, but Kentucky Wichita State is going to be a good game to watch out for. Also, Wichita State could beat Kentucky.
Yeah, because Wichita State has proven in the past that they're a team that can go.
I would say out of all the games, that will be the closest game to watch out for. I think that could be a flip-flop. This way, it can also be Wichita State's way. I think with that game, it's going to go down to the wire to maybe the last minute. So I would say overall, give my bracket. But what history has shown Kentucky actually win it out. I think that could be an upset right there also. But I'd say between those two games of USC versus Baylor and Wichita State and Kentucky, I think the upset probably could go to Wichita State before USC. Because Wichita State has shown throughout history so far, they've been able to upset teams. So if I was Kentucky, I would watch out for Wichita State.
Yeah, because like in all three of my like all three of my brackets, I really don't show any respect towards number one seeds. I mean, I think history shows that number one seeds tend to get knocked out around either
At
the
least
Sweet
this
16 or
second
the
round,
Elite Eight.
sometimes number one seeds tend to usually get knocked out in the second round, Sweet 16 or Elite Eight. You are right on that. That's when they usually start getting
Yeah,
knocked out. That's very
I
true.
mean, I mean, and now we're down to three number one seeds instead of having all four because Wisconsin pulled out the upset. And I mean,
It's very hard.
as
Go ahead.
I'm gonna, I'm making a prediction as far as even though we're still at least another week or so out from the Final Four. Yeah, because the Final Four is April 1st, isn't it?
Yeah, Final Four is April 1st.
Yeah, we're gonna have at least only one number one seed, and I think it's gonna be Gonzaga.
I think it'll be two, but it won't. It definitely won't be three. But I think the two number one seeds will probably be Gonzaga and Kansas.
So you think North Carolina loses to UCLA or
Yeah,
Butler?
yeah. I'd say more than likely I think they'll beat Butler, but I don't think they'll beat UCLA. You know, North Carolina has a bigger RPI, but been UCLA has shown how good of a team they are. Also, I know their strength of schedule is only 106. Look at Gonzaga. Their strength of schedule is 102, and UCLA has this year also 29-4. North Carolina's record is 26-7, and North Carolina's strength of schedule is 14. And then in their last 12, North Carolina went 8-4. UCLA's last 12, they went 10-2. What makes me think UCLA will beat North Carolina, and that's why I think it'll beat Kansas and Gonzaga as the two number one seeds in it. Because Kansas is 28-4, and their last 12, they went 10-2.
Yeah, and all the number one seeds first round matches, they dominated 100-62 over UC Davis.
That's why I think it'll be Kansas Gonzaga. I mean, I've got Arizona in the Final Four, but if Gonzaga keeps playing the way they're playing, it actually, for what you've got, it could be Gonzaga versus UCLA. It could be those two teams in the national title game, and I think that would be an awesome title game to watch. You've got UCLA, I would say, the most prestigious program out of all of NCAA basketball now. Because obviously you've got John Wooden, who's won 10 titles. I forgot who the other person was in the 90s that won one. Technically, UCLA's got 11 titles total. And they've got Gonzaga, who's never won one title yet. I think that would be one of the biggest, probably I would say the ultimate title game. You've got the ultimate underdog, Gonzaga, like Rocky Balboa, going against UCLA Apollo Creed. You see my analogy on that?
Oh yeah, I see it.
I think that would be an awesome title game. I think that would be a very awesome title game. And I know when it comes to UCLA, they are very well respected. And most of those players have been very well respectful also towards other games. And that's why I think that would be an awesome game to watch. And because that would be difficult for me. Who would I choose, Gonzaga or UCLA? I have
More of
always
a
thought
Drago
UCLA.
reference, but I kind of see where you're going. I mean, like like in Rocky, no one gave Rocky a shot against Creed the first
Apollo
time,
Creed.
and he took him all
Yeah,
12 rounds, even though he lost.
yeah. And that's why it would be tough for me who I would choose. But if I would have to pick, if it was Gonzaga versus UCLA in the title game, I would root for Gonzaga. Even though I've got UCLA winning the national title game, and I know my prediction will turn out to be wrong, I'm fine with Gonzaga winning. Because
I
they
mean,
are probably,
would you be disappointed if UCLA won? I mean, for you, it's a win-win situation to get both your teams in the title game if that happens.
I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed either way. If it was a good game and good score between both teams, I wouldn't be disappointed either way. And that's what that's what most games should be. If you keep it close and you lose, but you get second place, I would consider that still mainly a win for the most part. That you kept it close all the time. You just because Because I remember when I ran cross country, there was two in middle school. There was two meets I remember running in, and our team was a little disappointed because we just couldn't get over the hump to win first place in those two meets. But overall, throughout the whole season, with 8 meets that we had overall, we got first and second place in every single meet we ran in. But it did disappoint us because
No, I never ran cross country. I mean, how does that stuff? Like, how do those work? I mean, do they?
basically you've got runners 1 through 7, but how you score is 1 through 5. 6 and 7 are basically what you call eliminators. So if you get 7 runners in before, let's say, the number 1 overall team gets 7 runners in first. Basically, you win the meet overall, and you only score 1 through 5. So that would be 9, 12. You would have 15 points overall because you score 1 through 5. So let's say you face against 4 teams overall together. Well, let's say you get your first 4 in before you get your first 4 in, and then the other 4 teams get their top runners in, and then of the number 1 team comes in after that. The number 1 overall team would win that title for that meet because you got all of your runners in first before all the other teams did. You see where I'm going at with this?
I think I follow it. Like I said, I never did cross country, so I leave that to you since you're the expert.
Well, okay, so since based upon points, you want the smallest amount of points. So let's say the number 1 team had the first 4 runners to get first, second, third, and 4th place. So you'd score that. So that'd be 4, 5, 6. That'd be 7. That'd be 10 points right there overall. Well, then, let's say the other 3 teams get their first runners in after that. So that'd be 5, 6, and 7. Well, right there, I mean, there's no way they could win because if that 5th runner would come in after the number 7 runner, if they come in at number 8, they automatically win because all the other runners that come in after that 5th runner, that would be their second best runners of those other teams, and they have to score all 5. You see my point on that?
I think so, yeah.
And that's why I know when I ran cross country, that's why it is very tough to get second place sometimes because you came so close to winning and you just didn't get over the hump. I remember in situations like that where we came so close, but we lost it. But then the next time we were in another meet that this team beat us, we found a way to beat them. And that's what we kept doing. We just kept on grinding. We kept working harder and harder all the time. That's what I remember doing all throughout my life. Was if I would lose, I would keep working harder to make sure that we would win.
I mean, is it more about endurance or is it just more about trying to get across the line first? I mean,
actually, I think it's mainly 3 things. Endurance is definitely one of them. Getting across the line, but number 3, brains. How to mentally be ready for a race or a meet. Because some meets are different. Sometimes in some meets you've got hills, and you've got to sprint really hard up those hills because some of those grades are very steep. Sometimes they're very flat. And usually if they're flat, you'd rather want to sprint as fast as you can on the flat surface. Then, like if you've got hills, and if it's a grade, you want to make sure that you've got a fairly good steady pace, but you just only want to sprint up on the hills and take it slow when you get to a flat part. If you see my point.
I think so. I mean,
but going back to college basketball, that's why some of these games, yeah, it's very saddening that you came so close. You came so close to winning it, but you just couldn't get over the hump. Because I remember stuff like that when I was in sports where I came very close. I mean, I was really never disappointed because I knew within myself I did well, but I know the team got disappointed because they didn't win. And yeah, I understand everyone wants to win or everyone wants to get a trophy, but unfortunately, in the real world, in real life, there's always winners and losers, always.
Like, I think you and I can both agree that we want to see the 16 be a 1 at least once. But, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Exactly. And that's why I like watching games that are,
when doing
even
this
though you
podcast,
may
I
have
think you're more
lost.
of a realist.
Yeah, I try to be a realist as much as possible. I mean, it would be awesome to see a number 16 seed be a number 1 seed, but throughout the history and what history has shown, that has never happened yet. They are very, very small, and the numbers have shown that 16 seeds have. This is even shown now, even this term. 16 seeds have still not beat a number 1 seed yet.
Yeah, because I think at least this year, I think the 16 seeds are what, like D3, D4 schools, or even D2.
That may have been possible. I'm just saying Division 1 tournament that has never happened yet.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's all D1, so it's right. But
You know, I think it would be awesome to see a 16 seed beating number seed. It would be awesome to see that. But history has shown that has never happened. That's why I try to be realist as much as possible. That's why I understand why some people of older generations get upset with our generation that everyone should deserve a trophy or a reward. No, you should deserve a reward or an award by actually working hard for it, by doing the right thing, by.
I mean, that whole participation mentality.
Yeah, I don't like that participation mentality.
I don't either. It's like,
I've been a person that has been based on competition, where
why
you've
should
got to
your
show
child
that
get
you're
a
the
trophy
best.
just because, even though my child worked harder, why should yours get the same recognition that mine does?
Yeah, that's where I agree with. The people that work hard, they should be the ones getting the recognition, not the ones that just go, "Oh, everyone should deserve a trophy." No, not everyone deserves a trophy. That's why it is winners and losers and things. I know it's upsetting to hear that, but it's the brutal honest truth.
Yeah, I mean, when I played chess back in high school, I didn't get much or if any, like most of the recognition that my brother did when he played, mainly because I didn't really keep up with trying to practice. But when I did win, my first medal, my first trophy, I'm like, this feels damn good.
Yeah, because you worked hard for it. And it feels really good when you work hard for something and you show that you know you were good. I get more upset when people try to be arrogant, say that they want an award when you're going, you barely worked hard at all for it. Or you didn't accomplish anything for you to win that award.
Mike, if anything, you rode my coattails to success.
Yeah, and that's not right. People should win awards by themselves, or if they're with the group, you're a team leader showing that you can win awards because you're the ringer that you've worked hard and have them work hard with you also to where you win awards
Yeah.
also.
Like if you're the
Because how
team
is that
leader, at
fair
least give credit to the other guys around you that made you.
right.
Like
Exactly.
like Super Bowl, for example. I think Tom Brady gave credit to most of his players.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that's the way you should be with most teams. And that's why I like to think I've been a good team leader, but I think I also know when the right time is to call people out. Because there's some times where someone may have been at the wrong on that, and that's what I'm saying. I've been with all different types of teams, all different types of people, working with them. Yeah, I know it sucks that sometimes you lose or you made a mistake. You've got to, and even I have too. And you've got to call yourself out on it. That's why I always try to be critical of myself. Because if you're not critical of yourself, you're going to be so egotistical, and you're going to have so much pride in you, thinking you're the best of everything. And you're going, no, you're not. That's why you got to call yourself out. That's why I try to be critical of myself. That's why I always try to worry about what I say anyway. Because
and I think in
do
a
I make
way
mistakes too? Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And I think in a way the tournament helps you prepare for those non-conference games next season.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. You may not be playing that team within the non-conference schedule, but yeah, it does help you out because then you know what to expect.
If you're playing a team similar to it, then yeah, you already got that formula on what to do.
Right. And if you lose, then you know what you need to do to improve your team for a non-conference schedule. Because that may actually help you out later on in the long run next year to where you can make the tournament again.
I mean, the NCAA tournament is like the ultimate proving ground.
That's exactly what it is. It is the ultimate proving ground. That's why people
like this year, I don't think we had any 15 beat a 2, which is
That is very interesting.
That's not surprising, but I think throughout history we've at least had one or two 15v2, but it didn't happen this year.
That's what I'm saying. That's very surprising. You're right on that. That didn't happen this year. Because you usually do see at least one number 2 seed lose to a 15 seed. That is very true. But,
just the way that like some of these records were going, I mean, no, that wouldn't have happened. No, it could have, but no. I mean, I don't know. We haven't seen that many upsets outside of maybe Northwestern in the first round. I mean, that's. I mean, I don't know. Is that surprising? We haven't seen that many upsets this year.
It does intrigue me, but I mean, that's the way the tournament's going this year. And the tournament has always gone in different phases all the time. Even when it comes to selections of what schools get chosen to be in the tournament each year. And so far this year, the top seeds have been doing better than the lower seeds so far.
Yeah, and
that's the way it's been going.
Kind of like a little quick note here. Long-time Indiana coach Tom Crean got fired.
Yeah, and actually, from what I've been hearing from people that live here in the state, are actually glad that he's gone.
Really?
Yeah.
They not like him?
I guess not. I guess even him as a person, talking with him, I guess a lot of people weren't too impressed with him. But I've never been around him face to face, so I don't know. But I know I have read some things, so that may be wrong.
You think maybe he got fired because they didn't make the tournament?
I think that's one of the reasons. I definitely think that is definitely one of the reasons why. But I know a lot of people here in Indiana were always big fans of Bobby Knight, where they made tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament. And now they have, and now since Bobby Knight's left, there's been a lot of people that have been fans of Indiana basketball for such a long time. And they've been used to making tournaments all the time. Now it's making them upset because they don't have a coach yet that's getting them into a tournament after tournament after tournament and winning titles. And that's what I'm saying. If you've got that one ringer, you have that one ringer who's going to probably do something bigger and better in their life. And that ringer is going to want to do something bigger and better. Maybe want to make more money.
I hate this. Sorry, I'm trying to find an article on this thing. Let's see. IU teams were always interesting, but not always good. Defense was a consistent weak point early in his tenure. Then good for a few years and bad again for the last 3 seasons. Let's see. The peak for Crean and Bloomington was undoubtedly 2013 when the Hoosiers reached #1 in the poll and stayed up for all of February. They were popular national title pick. Heading into that March's tournament, they went out with an 11-point loss to Syracuse in the Sweet 16. Yeah, Crean was a good coach, but he could never break through that wall.
Yep. And I know when it comes to Indiana basketball and schools they consider top-tier schools like Duke, UNC, UCLA, Indiana, Kentucky, if you don't make it to the Final Four or even at least the Sweet 16, and you don't get to at least the Sweet 16 or even past that, especially in Indiana, they aren't big fans of yours.
I know they have to hire a new coach, but do you think maybe? I mean, who do you go with? I mean, do you go with another big name? Do you kind of rebuild?
If I was Indiana, I would do like what they did back when they brought in Bobby Knight, rebuild.
Okay, I'm trying to follow your logic, but.
Well, okay, here's a good instance. Back with John Wooden. UCLA brought in John Wooden when he started coaching at Indiana State. They were in rebuilding mode at that time. So, and UCLA didn't even win a title yet until John Wooden started winning with his. Well, what I'm trying to get to is, if you get a new name, maybe there's someone out there that has maybe better logic of how to handle their players. And if they're able to get the right players to play for them, they could probably start making good all-around teams to where if they can start winning title after title after title, you get the better players to come to your school. But it takes time. Because when you're first to get in there, yeah, you're probably not going to get the best recruits sometimes. And that tends to be the case. You don't always get the best recruits all the time when it comes to college basketball. But in time, hopefully you're able to build a program up to where you keep on getting more wins. Because the more wins you tend to get, the better players you're going to tend to get. And if you start beating bigger and better teams that are ranked in the top 25 in that, and you start making tournaments and you keep going farther, and then you finally win your first NCAA tournament, you're going to start getting kids wanting to come to your school then. Like with the journalism and the departments at our school. We've got people from all over the country now that are going there now. Because of how good it's become. And same thing like in sports and college basketball and college football. The more prestigious that program becomes, the more students that are wanting to be part of it. Because their name gets out there.
That Indiana is a prestigious school. It's just they need a coach that can help them.
They can guide them to them winning a title. And that's what I'm saying.
Even though, you have to give Tom Crean some credit, but just not a whole lot.
You do have to give some credit. It's very true.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. You have to give him some credit, but I'm just saying.
I don't think he was a coach on a level of like Bob Knight.
That I agree with. That I completely agree with.
I mean, you got to bring in a guy who can rebuild the system and help the student buy into his system as well as the university as a whole. Because as you said, once you get some wins, you start getting support, and once support comes, you're gonna start gelling.
Right. That's exactly right. That's why everything connects. That's why it takes that coach. That you've got to have that right coach that can see both sides of the coin. That you've got to find, because that coach, hopefully they can start coming with a big idea to where it helps bring in decent players. Because they may not be the top of the crop, but if you could get these guys to work really well as a team and gel together, you could have a good shot of winning a title. There, that will hopefully expand to where you can start getting really good recruits for that freshman year to come in, and you start getting better recruits every year, and you win that first title and start going on the run, and that you become a real big name that kids left and right from all over the country go, hey, I want to play for this guy. It's going to be a harder competition then later on, because then once you get a guy that wants the best of the crop, the ones that aren't all the way at the top, they're not going to want you on the team, even though they're going to say thank you for trying out, but they're just not a good fit for it. If you see where I'm going at with this.
Yeah, I see where you're going. I mean,
just like with John Wooden, with him becoming the coach that he became, when he first started, best basketball players. He was the guy that worked himself up to where he became the greatest college basketball coach of all time. And he didn't get the greatest players when he first started, even when he got to UCLA his very first season. He had decent players, and that's what got him his first college win. But because of that one college win, they started to get more players and got more people interested in coming to UCLA, and they won a second one. And they started getting better players year after year, and that's why he was able to win 10 titles overall and win 7 consecutive titles straight. And that's unheard of, but he's the only coach to win 7 consecutive NCAA men's basketball titles. He's the only.
Bob Knight can say he did that.
No one could say that but John Wooden. He's the only one that could say that.
Do we see another coach like him ever in our lifetime?
I think the only thing you can say is time will tell. I think it would be cool to see it. I don't think that it will happen. But if it does, I'd be really glad to see something like that happen. Because that is really tough to do, especially in today's age. If someone can do that in today's age, wow. That is really
tough. Today's era of basketball, whereas, like 20 years ago, you could be more physical, whereas today it's like you tap a guy at the foul.
And I think teams need to get back to being physical again. I think Because I think it's becoming crappy how everyone wants to complain when you're going. I like seeing in basketball the physical type of games, where we have to work hard for it. You should call it both ways. Like if a foul's a foul, yeah, you should call it. Make the right call every single time. And if the refs aren't doing that,
I do think that it's hard for referees.
It may be hard for referees, but that's their job. I'm sorry, but that's their job. If they can't do it right the first time, sorry, you gotta find someone else.
Unless you're that dude. Unless you're Tim Donaghy, then
Because the ref is supposed to keep it down the middle. So if they call a foul one way, they should call it the same exact way on the opposite end. If the opposing people do that to the other.
That's where I think kind of difference. This is kind of a segue. Kind of difference between like referees and umpires. I mean, umpires in baseball, umpires have different strike zones.
The players have different strike zones, but a strike should be still a strike. And that's why the ump is the middleman. That's like with refs or umpires, or same thing like the NFL. Those people are the middleman. And they should call it both ways for both teams. If it's, all plays are different, but if something's almost exactly similar or exactly the same, it should be called both ways. But that's the way I look at it.
That's fair enough. You got any final thoughts before we close out tonight?
Well, like I said, I'm still excited for WrestleMania and this NCAA tournament for the way it's been going so far. It's becoming a fantastic NCAA basketball tournament. I'm impressed with it. I wonder how the ratings going to turn out later on, but this turned out to be a doozy, a good one.
Yeah, I'll agree there. I think out of Gonzaga and UCLA, one of those two teams makes the finals. I'm not gonna say both of them because anything happen, but one of those two at least makes it.
Well, this is Grant Trudano and Jose Gonzalez with the Full Count. Hopefully to see you next time.
Yeah, I'll see you guys next week.